the number one reason I believe folks need to adopt open source software is what I call the barrier to exit. And people don't think about that, and people don't worry about it. See, technology has the shelf life of a banana. It's different. It is, by the time you can implement something and turn it over to production in an enterprise or in a web company or a telco or whatever, it is so obsolete. It is so, there's so much stuff out there that's already better just because of the time it takes to put something into, to acquire it, implement, test, certify, port, whatever, and turn over to production. That banana is a brown pile of mush by the time you actually get it. So the real issue is not how do you get into the technology, but how do you get out of the technology? How do you migrate? How do you move to the next step? How do you move to the next release? Or how do you move to another company since the supplier you were using got bought by Oracle? That's a real deal. Another $1 billion bites the dust today with ATG or whatever. So you have to start thinking of and talking to your customers about A, B, and C. A is the barrier to entry. That's the purchase price. And purchasing agents are very good about understanding what the purchase price is. And they're very good at negotiating the purchase price. And they'll say, hey, listen, we're going to have an auction on the purchase price. I'm going to go with the low bidder or whatever. But then they got smart and they said, the purchase price of software, it's kind of like the first hit of heroin is free, right? They said, what about the 5-year ongoing cost of support? And if you've ever looked at the software support costs for your mainframe software or your mainframe database, you'll understand what I'm talking about. It's most of you have probably never used mainframes, but if you go ask your buddies who use them, it's stunning how much IBM charges for DB2 maintenance on a mainframe. So they got smarter and they said, all right, we're going to take cost A plus B and get a 5-year net present value of the discounted cash flow, kind of whatever. And they forgot cost C, which is, how do I move off of this stuff? The barrier to exit. And I contend that C is 10x A plus B. It's an order of magnitude more expensive. Because once you start speaking the written and spoken language of DB2, and you write all your applications and you train all your people and you write all of your utilities and all the rest of it, and then you start locking up your data in a proprietary language that only IBM has the keys to, has the dictionary to, has the grammar and syntax, has the textbooks for how to handle it, you're done. And so what do they do when you need to upgrade to the next version? They price the next version at $5 below the barrier to exit. It's a very simple pricing mechanism. And Safra Katz at Oracle has calculated that for every one of her customers. Therefore, the contract negotiation becomes a contract explanation. And you're stuck. And no CIO wants to go spend a lot more to break. That's the challenge that you all have, is getting people to unlock from their enterprise license agreement, their slave, if you will, and move on to and get into this world of open source software. But it is interesting to note, I can't find a web startup in the last 10 years who's paying Oracle money for a database. So the real question is, how do you get the legacy enterprise world to start to move into in that direction? What I have been telling CIOs for many, many years now is that you must put in your contract that the vendor has to pay cost C. They have to pay for the transition costs for the migration to whatever technology you decide later. The vendor pays the switching costs at the end of the contract. Now, Ford is willing to pay the switching costs for you to switch over to a Chevrolet pickup truck if you buy a Ford F-150 pickup truck. Because the switching cost to teach somebody how to drive a Chevy after using a Ford for 5 years is maybe 3 minutes staring at the dashboard. This is the radio. That's the brake. Here's the steering wheel. There's the truck bed. It will still fit in their garage. It will still go on the same roads. You won't need a new driver's license. The switching costs are so low that you don't even think about it. But the switching cost to go from DB2 to Oracle is prohibitive. And so they charge prohibitive minus $5 for your next release. And that's why I'm here speaking to you for no salary. So